Hey, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk about how to maximize profits when running a car rental company. First off, you probably have a Turo account or some sort of backbone, and now I want to talk about the other side of the backbone that you can create, and that is private car rentals. The nice thing about Turo is obviously it gives you a really nice system to get started. It gives you pretty much the ability to be hands-off on the back end side of things. Turo takes care of all of the insurance and all the little nitty-gritty type things, while you kind of just focus on the fleet, the cars, and the operation. But I want to talk about if you were to take that over, what that would look like. Okay, so if you forgot about Turo, if you ran it all on your own, what that would look like. And so the first thing that you need, if you're going to start a private rental company, at least this is what we have, is a website. And typically on that, the first thing that you want to have is a contact form. Something that says their name, what kind of car they're looking for, the dates they're looking for, the reason for their trip, and maybe you can add some more questions in there, but some sort of fill out form where they can contact you, okay? Another thing you can put on there is the type of cars that you have. You can put generic images of the sizes that you have, or you can put the actual cars that you have. We put our the cars that we actually have with our photos because they're really nice. Another thing that you can have on there is about the company, so about yourself or about the whole operation, just kind of a get to know who you are. And I think that's really nice because, like on Turo, it's kind of like a bio, but it's maybe a little longer. So I put a bio on there. That's probably it. The most important though is a fill out form, and with that I'd say a phone number as well. Phone. A lot of people for us will fill out the form and then immediately call us because it gives them a phone number right after and before. We have the phone number all over the website, but the fill out form is really nice, but having a phone number so they can call you right after is super important. The next thing that you want is a Google My Business. Google My Biz. So the reason you're going to want that is so people can actually find you and you can put reviews and stuff, so it looks more professional, looks more legit. And the other reason is you can run ads on it. So once you get to the point where you have enough cars and you want to go full private, maybe you run ads, that's how you get all of your customers, is through ads. So the first reason is obviously it looks good. Okay. Makes you seem more professional, makes you seem like you know what you're doing, makes you seem like an established business. And you don't need to have a address on there. You can, like us, we have our business address and people can just come here, walk in, and we can get them a car. If you're running it out of your house, you don't have to have that. You can just have it kind of online and tell them where it is. But yeah, pretty simple. The next thing that you're going to want is your insurance. There's two pieces of this. First is your fleet insurance. Which you should already have. Just covering your fleet, making sure that all your cars are covered. The second thing that you want to have is the ability, and you don't have to have this is just a really nice add-on, the ability to sell insurance. So if somebody comes to you and they say, hey, I want to rent a car, I have liability, but I want full coverage. Okay, well, I, as a business owner, I buy it for $18 and I'm going to sell it to you. You're not going to tell them this, but you're going to say, hey, I can get you full coverage, $25 a day. Okay, so you make a little bit of money here. You can make no money if you want, however you want to do it, but typically you make a little bit of money. Okay, the last thing that you need, which is probably one of the most important pieces, is a contract. Okay, this is for if anything happens, you have it all in writing. Okay, and contracts are pretty simple. We have a little. We should have some blank ones here. Pretty standard though. I mean, you get their information, you get their insurance, you put the car that you're renting out to them, the VIN number, the plate, how much gas it has, how many miles it has, You put how much they're renting per day, how many days they're going to rent it for, when they're expected to come back, and then any damage the car has, have them sign it. Back page has all of the nitty gritty, all the, if they crash the car, they're liable, their insurance company's going to take over. When they drive the car, it's their responsibility, so on and so forth. If it's trash, you have to clean it, there's a cleaning fee, deposit, this, and that. So that's super important. There's obviously more than this, like a tracker, make sure you keep your cars clean, but that stuff's kind of standard. I'm not going to go over that. I'm not going to go over that in this video. The next thing I want to talk about is criteria. So when somebody calls you and they say, hey, I want to rent a car, what do you need from me? What do I need so I can rent a car from you? The first thing, at least for us, this is on our side, we have to make sure that they at least have liability insurance. Okay. Okay, liability insurance. So if anything happens, it falls onto their insurance. If they don't have liability insurance, they crash the car, who's paying for it? Are they going to pay for it? Well, what if they can't afford it? Well, you just put yourself in a hole because they can't afford it, they don't have an insurance company, so now it falls on you. Obviously the contract says otherwise, but the contract's also for if the person has liability. If you can find a way to rent to people without liability insurance, which I've never heard of, maybe you can sell them liability. I'm not sure how it works. I know the bigger companies can. We can't. The next thing that they must have or must be is over 21. Okay? If they're under 21 for us, we can't rent to them. No matter if they're going to turn 21 in a couple days, whatever, they have to be 21 when they rent from us. It's just a must. Okay? And the last thing is a valid driver's license. Not a valid ID, not a passport, a valid driver's license. Okay? And the last thing with this, so with the liability insurance, they can be from Canada, they can be from another state. They just have to be able to work with, if they're from like Canada or Mexico or wherever, the insurance company has to be able to work with the U.S. insurance company. They have to work together, because if it's from, let's say, Hong Kong or from Japan or from wherever, if it's a country farther away, and their insurance company doesn't work with ours, it's not going to work. You have to make sure that their liability insurance works for U.S. driving. Okay. Okay, I have this. So liability insurance over 21, valid driver's license. Okay, pretty standard, pretty simple. The next thing I want to go over is the trip. Trip information I want to talk about, maybe what it looks like a little bit. So let's start with miles. Okay. So, 3 miles per day. So on Turo, I know the minimum's 200, typically 250 is kind of the average. But for 3 miles on private rental, what we do is we do 150 per day. Okay? Makes it so, it gives them enough room to move around and make sure that they can't go crazy far. It's kind of a good little distance. If they go over that, we charge 50 cents a mile. Okay? Makes sense. The next thing that we do is we put a parameter, whether it's in Arizona, whether it's the amount of miles they can travel. There has to be some sort of distance in that. Typically, people are staying in the valley, they're not going very far, so we'll put a 150 mile radius. You can put more, you can put less, they can travel in the whole United States, and they can go 250 miles a day. Whatever, there's so many different ways you can do it. This is just how we do it. We just want to make sure our cars are close, not too many miles we can put on them. We don't want people that are going to rent them today and then go to Canada and then come back in like 3 days, unlimited miles. It's tough. You do it on Turo, and most of the time you're going to see 35 cents per mile on average for like a sedan. But if you keep getting people that are doing 2, 3, 4,000 miles in a couple of days, that's tough. The next thing is additional driver. Okay, so if it's an additional driver, that's going to be an extra charge because there's somebody else that's going to be under the policy, under the thing, and on the contract, they're going to have an additional driver for them. For that, there's two pieces to it. First, if they're a spouse, if they're married, it's free. They don't have to pay extra to add an additional driver. Okay, so I'm going to put that down. Spouse equals free. If they're not a spouse, if they're a friend or a coworker or something like that, the typical charge is $25 a day. Okay, just standard. The next thing I want to talk about is insurance. Okay. Okay, so if you sell them full coverage insurance, it'd be nice to, you gotta set this up because it's really nice to have. We get it because we buy from another company for $18 per day and we sell it for $25 a day. It's just a way to make a little extra money and offer another service. Okay. Okay. The next thing that we have is a deposit. It can range per car, it can be more expensive, it can be less, and you can create your own deposit, but you have to remember, if they go over on miles, if they add another day that they weren't intending to, if they do an airport drop-off, if they make it really, really dirty, if they smoke in it, you have to make sure that you can collect your money, because if you do a $0 deposit, you don't take a deposit, and they smoke in your car, they go extra miles, and then maybe they scratch the hood, how are you going to collect that money? How are you going to go after them and collect the money if they just stop responding, block you, and say, like no? You have to make sure you have the money up front, so if anything happens, either that can cover what they did, or be a nice down payment for what they did, and hopefully they'll pay the rest off. And typically for our stuff, our deposit is $250. So, and our cars are anywhere from $10,000 to $23,000. If you have cars that are like a newer Corvette, or a nice Suburban, or a nicer car, you're not going to want to do a $250 deposit. That's too little, because the stuff that can happen is going to be way more. It's going to cost you more money to do those things, to detail it, to get the odor out, whatever. So, the more expensive car, maybe you do a higher deposit. But for us, typically the cost is $250 for the deposit. Okay. The last thing with this is okay, pickups and drop-offs. You can probably charge what you do on Turo. The airport drop-offs for us, like Sky Harbor's $50, Mesa Gateway's $110. You can kind of keep that. That's kind of up to you. You can do free deliveries. There's tons of different ways you can do it, but definitely having a drop-off fee, and it can, like I said, it can be very similar to Turo. That's not a problem. But having something in place, because people are going to be at the airport, they're going to be at their house. They're not going to want to get an Uber to you, so having some sort of solution for them is going to be very helpful. Now I want to jump into pricing real quick as kind of the last little piece of this. Okay, take a look at this, write it down, take a mental snapshot. Now let's go over pricing. So the last thing that I want to go over is the pricing. There's two things you want to keep in mind, and they're two different sides of it. One is Turo, which is, there's a lot of corporations and VCs, like big companies on there that are charging nothing. You're seeing nice cars for no money. I saw a little Nissan on there, pretty nice car, a little 2016 Nissan Versa for $28 a day. And then you look at the other side of it, which is Hertz or Enterprise, these big companies that can charge for the similar car, maybe newer, maybe less miles, $129, $119 a day, which is crazy. It's a huge difference. I've heard of people that have a little private rental fleet, they're charging $15 a day. In my mind, I'm thinking, well, as a business owner, how can you possibly pay the car off and let's get it for nothing, especially with maintenance? I mean, it doesn't make sense when there's people that are charging $139 a day for cars. I mean, that's just too little. They're almost charging 10 times what that other person's charging. So you want to stay, I'd say, in between that. You don't want to be Turo pricing, which is crazy cheap, and you don't want to be Hertz and Enterprise, which can get really, really expensive. So I'm going to break it down into 3 categories. I'm going to break it into sedan, I'm going to do SUV, and I'm going to do minivan. And I'm going to be sharing these off of my experience. As you can see, I'm not putting exotic cars, I'm not putting sports cars. If you have those, you can probably look at Hertz or Enterprise and see what they're charging and maybe take it down a little bit, maybe 10, 15, even $20 a day. But I'm not going to go over that today. I'm going to go over what I know. And that's these 3 categories. So starting with sedan, depending on how nice it is, how new it is, let's say that you have a 2014, 2013 Ford Fiesta, Hyundai Elantra, something like that. Let's say you could charge $49 a day. On a slow season, on a season where it's really slow and you just want to get the rental, okay, you can charge $49. And then if it's a busier season, maybe you have a nicer car, every Hertz and Enterprise is booked out, now you can start charging some real money. So I'd say anywhere from $49 to $109 per day. Okay? Per day. And the nice thing about it is, think, okay, well, $49, I can get that on Turo. Okay, you can get that on Turo. I'm sure you can. But what are they charging you? They're charging that 10%, that insurance that they have. They're charging you that little fee that they have, and then they're charging the customer more. They're making money on the additional driver. They're making money on all sorts of things. I mean, so many different little avenues where they make their money. So sure, you could charge $49 a day and just make money in that avenue, or you can make money on the rental, you can make money on the additional driver, you can make money on the insurance, you can make, I mean, there's so many different avenues you can make money. So keep that in mind. SUV, I'd say SUVs kind of have a big range too. Depending on how nice it is, I'd say we could probably start those at $59, and that's if it's slow season, not a really nice car, maybe a little bit of miles, a little older, something that isn't bright and flashy, $59 a day. And if we're getting into maybe, let's say a 2021 VW Tiguan or a 2022 Jeep Cherokee, something like that, something a little nicer, something, and it's not crazy nice. I mean, these are all standard, and these are all off our prices. This is all off like our whole fleet. We have nothing crazy expensive, anywhere from $10,000 to $23,000. So nothing crazy. No Suburbans, no Tahoes, no $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 cars. These are just basic. Okay. So I'd say you can go anywhere from $59 to $159 per day. And you're probably thinking, whoa, that's a big range. It is. It's a really big range. And the reason is, like I said, low miles, not that busy. This is crazy busy. I mean, everywhere is booked out, and you have a 2021 VW Tiguan, 3 rows, and that's exactly what they wanted. Maybe throw in free airport delivery, boom, that's it. So this is, maybe that's not every day, that's not in the summer, that's not in the months where it's slower, but in the busy season when everyone else is booked out, sure, you're going to be able to get that. Now let's talk about minivan. Okay, I would think that on a minivan, you can get anywhere from $79 to $189 per day. Okay, so again, 79, slower months, maybe a little bit of an older car, higher miles. It doesn't have to be, this is just what I'm thinking. And then 189 if it's crazy busy, everyone's booked out, probably get $189 per day. Okay, so keep this in mind. These aren't exact figures, these are kind of what we're working with right now. And another thing you can look at is you can look at Hertz or Enterprise, look at their pricing, and maybe knock it down a little bit. If Hertz is charging $181 a day for a minivan, maybe you charge $169, maybe $165. Take it down a little bit, beat them, okay? Take a mental screenshot of this, use this as kind of a base ground, and build your own ideas from here, okay? The last thing that I want to talk about is what you should expect to see. Okay, I'm going to call this return. What you should expect to see as far as return on these cars. And I've talked about this before, and I'm going to talk about it again. I talked to a guy who ran a big car rental company. It was like Hertz or Enterprise, or one of those companies. He had a big fleet, a big franchise of that. And he ran for years and years and years. And I've always had this concept of 10%. In my eyes, when I started the business, I was like, well, I want to make 10% a month. So if cars, I bought it for $10,000, I need to make $1,000 a month. And I thought I created this concept. I thought it was completely new, and I was super excited. And then I talked to this guy about it. I was like, well, how do they determine how much they need to make a month? He's like, well, 10%. I said, well, tell me more. He said, well, they want to make 10% of what the car's worth every month. And my mind was blown. The fact that what I thought I had created as a concept was a regular thing. It's what all the other big companies are going for. And I just thought it was so funny because there's so many people that thought of me as crazy with the 10% rule. Like, well, you're never going to get that. It's impossible. But it's not. I mean, that's what all the big companies are doing. That's what you can do. And honestly, it's not that hard. You just have to find the right cars and charge the right prices. That's all it is. So, 10%. And in my eyes, okay, 10% every single month can be more. There's months we're going to hit 20 or 30%, and there's months we're going to hit maybe 7 or 8%. The 20 or 30% is going to be crazy months. Maybe it's going to be March, maybe it's going to be November, just super busy months in your place. Well, that's for Arizona and in Colorado or in maybe California. It's going to be a little different, but 10%. I can't reiterate that enough. If you have a car that's $20,000, you make $2,000 a month. So in 10 months, your car's paid off. The last thing I'm going to talk about for private rentals is, obviously there's more you have to do. You have to do the marketing, you have to do the backing, you have to do the contracts, you have to make sure that the people are using your cars properly and not damaging them too much. And when I started Turo, that was really nice for me to know that Turo, I felt like they had my back. They were watching over me, they made sure that nothing happened, which isn't really the case. They're kind of in the same boat as us. If something happens, they try to figure it out with us. But it's something that you can do yourself. So you have to think, if you're on a 60-40 plan or 30-70 plan or even the 10-90 plan, what's that worth to you? Okay, if you're making, let's say $100,000 a year, okay, and you're paying 10 grand a year, but you're also paying in potential earnings. So maybe it could have been $150,000 that year, so you're missing out on $50,000, another 50%. You have to weigh the pros and cons, and we're dipping our toes in the private rental company, or into the private rental interspace, and we're probably at 15-20% private, and we're really liking the numbers. So it's been so far so good. I just want to show you what I've learned so far. Take what you will, take what you won't. I don't care. I'm here to show you what I've learned. If you have any suggestions or if you have any questions or whatever, I'd love input. I love talking to people. I love helping as many people as I can. Just feel free to email us at heartrentalsaz@gmail.com. Again, that's HARTRENTALSAZ@gmail.com. Appreciate you watching this video. I hope that you at least got a little bit of something from this. If you want to see more videos or want me to talk about something else, just comment or email us. I'd love to teach. I'd love to help people grow what I've learned, and in any way I can do that, I'm here. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.